Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit entitled People, and it's by user KeyConclusion5511. You owe it to your sister who's married, and niece. I called my father this morning to see how they were all doing. Before he said good morning, he asked, what the F is a dorm shower and why are my in-laws asking for money and gifts? Background. My husband, children, adult teens now, and I went no contact with my husband's entire immediate family and most extended relatives since 2016. That's 9+ years of not talking to, contacting, or having any type of relationship or interactions. We gave them 20 years of chances and boundaries and consequences. That's to say, it wasn't a rash decision that was made selfishly or thoughtlessly. Through the years, they sent us, in the actual US Postal Service mail, because they're blocked everywhere else, requests for gifts. You see, they like to create registries, like you would for a bridal or baby shower, and fill them with obscenely priced items for simple things like birthdays, Christmas, graduations, anniversary, and every little I farted and therefore I deserve an expensive gift event. On to last week into today. I called my husband's aunt to catch up. She's the only one we're still in contact with, and she gave me a heads up that my in-laws were trying to get her to pay, they used the term donate, over $100,000, not a typo, for the golden granddaughter's dorm fees. I rolled thinking facepalm. Because we're family and we need to stick together and do our part. When the lady who is living a modest life and on Social Security said absolutely not, they then sent her an invitation via text to the dorm shower, and husband's aunt said it was beyond ridiculous. Not to mention the request for straight up cash when she graduated. In the meantime, I'm getting texts and calls from old acquaintances and childhood friends. We all grew up in the same town and in-laws still live there, but we've moved out about 4 hours away. Saying that my in-laws are harassing them and trying to get a hold of our information because we changed our cell numbers and blocked them everywhere we digitally could. Last week in the mail, I received an actual printed invite along with registry information, not one place, but 3 separate stores. And because we were curious, my whole family found it comical, took a peek. The cheapest thing on there was a pack of washcloths in the $60 range, followed by a power strip at $120, and the prices went up from there, including items in the $2,000 range. They even had commercial type appliances which you can't even take or use in a dorm room. So why are they even there? Mind blown. Then the phone calls started rolling in, which were sent to voicemail from phone numbers we aren't familiar with. Mother-in-law ended up leaving a message. OP's husband, this is your mom. Your niece is going away for college and we need you to contribute $100,000 for her dorm. We also sent you, apparently the rest of us no longer exist, an invitation to her dorm shower and a picture from her graduation, which had requests for straight up money without even hosting a party. Don't disappoint us because you owe it to your niece and sister. First of all, no to the effity no, and 7 middle fingers. Second, niece's parents make more than $500,000 a year. They both work for the state, love to brag, and their salaries are posted. Found that out from aunt. So, shouldn't they easily be able to afford their child's dorm necessities? Third, my husband and I have our own 2 children in university. One going into sophomore year and one going into junior year, and we never made any grand announcements, much less requests for money. They also chose to stay local in order to save money. Fourth, what the F are you trying to get money and gifts out of my parents and other elderly relatives? Aren't there laws against swindling senior citizens? My husband dropped everything into the shredder and erased the voicemail with full intent of remaining and maintaining no contact. In the last 2 hours, I've gotten 6 calls from numbers I don't know, but area codes are from their area, with nobody leaving any messages. What the F? Just when you think you're out, they try and pull you back into their effery. So effing tired, and the nerve to do that. They didn't even bother asking about their biological grandchildren that they claim to love with all their hearts. Wow, OP, that is next level entitlement. A dorm shower with $2,000 appliances, $100,000 demands, harassing your elderly relatives and old contacts? That's just overly tacky. You've held the boundary for 9 years and they're not confused. They're testing your resolve and banking on guilt and exhaustion to break you. Now, the way I see it, you've got two options, OP. You can ignore them and keep trying to block their numbers and all of that, but I think that would just be exhausting for you. And the other one is to write a firm cease and desist letter. I don't know if you could recoup that voicemail because you should definitely add it. You should add everything, that voicemail, the invite, the registry screenshots, and send it certified. Calm tone, zero emotion, then let them know continued contact or pressuring anyone on your behalf will be treated as harassment and forwarded to legal counsel. And what would you guys do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Pipette4 says, wow, the sheer audacity. You unfortunately probably need to change your phone numbers again. I'm sorry. And OP responds, I just keep blocking everything. We've changed our numbers at least twice. Me 3 times and husband twice. Already, and they badger someone until they give it up. It feels like we need to go into witness protection, and even then, I don't think we'd be safe. Thank you for reading and taking the time to respond. Smiley face. Curious Orange 8592 says, Step 1, inform them you'll be sending your contribution via USPS. Step 2, crap in a box and post it. Edit to add, it has been suggested that posting a crap may be a crime. Might I suggest sending 100,000 Zimbabwe dollars, which is $275.32 at the time of posting. Honeyed Vinegar 42 says, that is insane. I don't even have $100,000 worth of stuff in my entire house, including the appliances that wouldn't fit in any dorm room. My mind is boggling, and where are they getting $60 washcloth packs? I mean, you can get 18 washcloths from Walmart for about $5, and for dorm living, I wouldn't get anything fancier than that. And Dopey responds, my first 1,200 square foot house cost less than that, and you're right, everything I buy is either clearance or on sale, nowhere near $100,000. She had a $400 coffee maker on her registry. Mine costs $7 on clearance at Walmart and works just fine after 5 years. The Egyptian cotton washcloths, I think, were from Amazon. My kids were calling out what they were seeing and howling at the absurdity, but they also registered at Williams-Sonoma and Macy's. Insanity and entitlement at its finest. And Dark54G says, reverse Uno, create 2 registries, one for each of your children. Make the cheapest car a BMW or Tesla. Tell in-laws that until they comply with your registry in full, you will not either. But my Lord Jesus, these people are cuckoo. And Opie responds, my kids were cackling. They made a similar comment. I think my husband is finally starting to understand the absurdity of their requests and actions. The sending it to my parents is what enraged me today. Thank you for reading and taking the time to respond and verifying that this is not normal. Smiley face. Opie's edit. I'm so sorry that I didn't explain it correctly. To be clear, it's 2 separate things. Request 1, $100,000 for dorm fees and boarding, so essentially rent and food. Request 2, dorm shower, registering for gifts at specific stores that people are expected to buy for you off of a list produced or chosen by the graduate. Edit 2. How did mother-in-law get the number? We don't know. We did have a friend say that they gave out our address, which they had anyway. We have friends and my family that still live there, our hometown that we both, me and my husband, grew up in. Many people go to the same church weekly and many of the in-laws attend. That's the most probable place. We still gave our new numbers to our friends and my family. Mother-in-law managed to get our new number and nobody has confessed to giving it to her. I'm also getting a lot of calls from random numbers I don't know, and they're not leaving voicemails. That coincides with mother-in-law calling my husband. Mother-in-law, as of right now, has left a single message. Reverse directory on the other numbers doesn't give me information. Somehow, at the very least, mother-in-law has gotten our number. We don't know if the other calls are related to mother-in-law because they don't leave voicemails, but considering the uptick in calls and the message from mother-in-law, we think it's related to each other. Thank you to all who read this novel-length post, the advice, laughs, and the recommendations for Google Voice. It's been already implemented. No further voicemails at this time. We'll update soon. Well then, let's not waste any time and move on with that update. We are maintaining no contact, no gifts or donations of $100,000 because what they ultimately want is a reaction or contact. We refuse to fight and we refuse to submit, therefore we ignore. Our silence is a clear message that they don't hold any value in our lives, and that drives them absolutely crazy. Google Voice has been set up and everything else is being blocked on the landline if they don't leave a message or aren't part of our contacts. Mother-in-law at this point has left a single message, but we've received at least 50 calls, last time I counted, from numbers that we don't know but we suspect are mother-in-law's flying monkeys. I still don't understand why they're asking for $100,000 for dorm rent and food, because any way I look at it, the math ain't mathing. I spoke to my cousin, a lawyer, not in my area, and gave her all the information and asked if anything could be done. She reached out to a retired colleague who used to practice and now teaches, and they basically said to continue to ignore because legally not much can be done. Annoying, but it is what it is. Sad face. Now on to some gossip. Big smiley face. My dad and uncles are part of the church board and have been for decades. They, the board, secretary, and clergy, get together every Monday and review the week ahead, deal with issues, and approve or reject anything that needs to be dealt with. Pretty standard stuff. The in-laws attend the church but aren't really active in terms of committees, fundraising, or activities planning. Mother-in-law has volunteered once at a bake sale in the 40+ years of living in the community and attending this church. The church has a huge banquet room that includes a stage, bar area, and fountain. It's used for church functions, plays, bazaars, dinner dances, parties, and can be rented out for a fee. Everyone pays some sort of fee. The fee has a complete breakdown of everything. There are two prices. One for stewards, members that pay a yearly membership to the church, and one for non-stewards, non-members or anyone else who would like to rent the space. If you're a member, then you get the rentals at cost, so the church doesn't really make anything extra on the rental. If you're not a member, then there's an upcharge for using the space. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law want to rent the space because they're anticipating 200+ people for the dorm shower. They filled in a request online that requires you to input your information, steward number, information about what the party is for, how many people, what vendors, if there will be liquor, any special requests. The board reviews it, and if they have questions, they make follow-up calls. The secretary had mother-in-law on speakerphone so that everyone could listen and ask questions if needed. They aren't current stewards. Last time they were stewards was when their kids were little. No judgment, just explaining. They used their steward number from decades ago and played stupid when the secretary said they need to be current stewards in order to get the discount. They know this because they tried to pull the same crap for sister-in-law's big bridal shower. She had a total of 5, as well as the christenings for her children. The church has to pull a variety of permits depending on what type of party you're having. Insurance, plus security, liquor permits, custodians, and a few other things I'm sure I'm forgetting. There's a pre-approved list of vendors that you need to choose from if you want to serve food or liquor, and they set their own prices separately from the church. If you want to rent the space, those are the rules and have been for over 30 years. If you follow the rules, then it's pretty seamless, and I've used them plenty of times throughout the years without any issues. Mother-in-law then tried to negotiate the price because they have volunteered so much throughout the years. Once. You volunteered once. I roll. Then she tries to say that they're going to bring in their own food and liquor. Church said you have to use the pre-approved vendors or you can't serve food or beverages. Then mother-in-law pivots and wants to charge a fee to enter and have a cash bar so she can use the space and knowing her upcharge to make a profit. The church explains that there would be additional paperwork and fees for that paperwork. Mother-in-law doesn't like that and says to just forget it. Under special requests, she wanted the choir to donate a performance, and at the end, they wanted to do some sort of parade. My dad said that they were all just sitting there shaking their heads at the ridiculousness of mother-in-law. The fact that the party is supposed to happen, supposedly, the first week of August, with the address on the original invite being sister-in-law's house address. So 200 plus people are going to go into a residential neighborhood with limited parking for a dorm shower. Cry laughing emoji. I'm sure it'll be as classy as they are. Well, OP, the lawyer says you can't do anything right now, but I would still continue to document everything, so maybe you can file a harassment suit at some point. In the meantime, here's wishing you all the best, OP. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now, let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Giazin. You need to message me when finished with a client before going to the next one. As you wish. A few years ago, I worked as a tech support guy salesperson at a small family-owned computer store in my hometown. It wasn't a franchise, just a local shop. The owner? A mustached, arrogant dude who could never admit when he was wrong. No matter what went wrong, it was always someone else's fault. That constant blame game was a big reason why I ended up quitting, but that's another story. At the time, my main job was delivering products to clients and doing on-site tech support at their home or businesses. Now, for some context, my boss was obsessed with the idea that I was too slow during client visits. No matter how long I actually took, be it 5 minutes or 2 hours, it was always too much in his eyes. He couldn't seem to understand that tech problems vary and can take different amounts of time to fix. And of course, he loved to compare us to past employees. Back when so-and-so worked here, he was way faster than you. Funny thing is, I knew that when so-and-so worked here, the boss used to say he was slow and someone else was better. That was just his thing, guilt-tripping whoever was working for him at the time. Fast forward a bit. One day, he was in an extra bad mood and decided that from now on, I should message him every single time I finished with a client and wait for his reply before moving on. Same thing when I arrived somewhere, message him to say I'd arrived. He wanted this done through WhatsApp, SMS, or even a phone call. If I didn't have credit, I was supposed to make a collect call, where the person receiving the call pays. Not sure how common that is elsewhere. Basically, he didn't trust that I was working and thought I might be wasting time between clients or just riding around town. Spoiler, there's not much to see. I was annoyed, but sure, whatever, rules are rules. Day 1, I followed the rule to the letter. Arrived at a client, message. Finished the job, message, and wait. I lost way more time waiting for responses than I ever did between jobs, but okay. Day 2, same deal. Morning went by. After lunch, I loaded up the bike with deliveries and gear and headed out. First client of the afternoon messaged when I arrived. He replied, fixed the issue. It didn't even take 30 minutes, so I messaged when finished. No response. Waited 5 minutes, nothing. Called him, no answer. Waited another 5 minutes, still nothing. So I sat down on the curb under a tree and waited. Watched some videos, scrolled through Facebook, chatted with friends, and I waited and waited. Almost 3 hours passed. I just sat there doing nothing, waiting on the guy who demanded that I never move on without his go-ahead. Eventually, my phone rang. It's my boss, and he asks me where I am. I tell him, still at client X's place, and he goes, still? He was the first one this afternoon. The day's almost over. Just get back here. So I tell him, okay, on my way back now. I got back to the store and was greeted with him practically foaming at the mouth. Why the hell did you take so long? You're so slow. I looked him straight in the eye and said, I was following your rule. You told me to notify you every time I finished a client and wait for your reply before moving on. You didn't respond, so I waited. I'd never go against your orders. He froze, just stared at me. He didn't know what to say. Then he tried to backpedal. Well, you should use common sense. If I didn't answer, it's because I was busy. Turns out he'd spent the whole afternoon dealing with contractors and problems at his house renovation and just completely forgot he'd given me that rule. Needless to say, the rule was never mentioned again. I went back to the old way of doing things, but of course, he still kept complaining that I took too long with clients. Some things never change. Well, OP, the boss demanded that you not move, and you didn't. But the good thing is that you had a nice afternoon watching some videos and catching up with friends. Totally deserved. Thanks so much for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.